The self is the sole existent reality. Its nature is space-like, undifferentiated being. It is utterly indivisible and always is just as it is, never undergoing any kind of change. It is not particularized. There is not a trace of individuality in it. The nature of reality is to be I-less and my-less. I and mine characterize ignorance, bondage, samsara. I-lessness, my-lessness may be said to characterize liberation, which in truth is our natural state, the only real state there is, the state of the self as it is. The Maharshi has said that all of the Shastras, all of the spiritual scriptures, are based upon the assumption of an I or individual, the elimination of which is their purpose. We may extend this to the scope of all spiritual instruction. It appears to be given to the individual. It is therefore based upon an individual, the elimination of which is the purpose. For the egoless state, the state in which there's no I or my, that is the right state, the true state, the state of inexhaustible happiness and peace, the state of the self as it naturally is. Therefore, in your inquiry to know the self, your focus or your aim should be, as was just stated, the elimination of the sense of individuality or I, what we commonly call an ego. Whatever be the objective appearance of your experience, trace it inward to I. See how it depends on I. See how it is I itself in the form of that objective experience. Then seek to know that I. Hence the Maharshi's inquiry, who am I? And whence am I? From where does the sense of I arise? If by inquiry you trace this I to its origin, you will find that there is no such thing called I. There is perpetual being, which is silent and indivisible. There is perpetual consciousness, which is the knowledge in self-knowledge itself. There is bliss, uncaused, without conditions, identical with the being consciousness that you are. But there is no one answering to the name of I. And all that the I claims as mine is as illusory as the I itself. With the appearance of I, with the seeming existence of I, anything else can be. With the disappearance of that delusion of I, by virtue of self-knowledge, nothing else is there. Just one absolute, all-shining, perfectly full self. It is the only thing that has been actually existing all the time. If you have a question this morning or you wish to relate your own experience, at any time, feel free to speak or ask. It cannot possibly interrupt the silence.
The grace that the Maharshi provides in so many wonderful ways. The retreat that was provided last week, and the support and illumined guidance received here just helped me understand deeper how to inquire more directly, as you said this morning, into the sources from whence, and helping me see that that can help prevent the rise of the I, or should the I arise, to inquire right when it arises, well, for whom is this I? Where is this I coming from? Where is the source of this I? And it seems that in doing that, there's less mind, there's less I. Being is much more evident.
How much I and my are actually there? What actually constitutes I?
Yesterday I had the occasion to see there's still some I there. And some of it is constituted by a not a in-depth examination of what real happiness is, what attachment to form or ideas.
Attachments are the offshoot of the ego. They don't produce an ego. You'll have to look more closely to see if there is such a thing as an ego entity. But on the way in, destroy all the attachment. So that the illusion is dissolved from top to bottom. Combine the bliss of your own nature with the delusive notion of an ego, and the result comes out as attachment. Combine the infinite formless consciousness with the delusive notion of an ego, and the result are the thoughts, the mind.
So continuing to meditate and on the way inward, destroying attachments. That will then allow the infinite consciousness to know itself as that. this morning, reading from Brahma Shmirti, the devotee was giving his account where he was unable to attend a birthday celebration at the ashram at the hill. And he had even forgotten that he wasn't able to attend, and he had even forgotten that it was the Maharshi's birthday. But I don't know how far away he was, but he received the grace of the Maharshi's presence on that day, and that also reminded him, oh yes, it is the Maharshi's birthday, and the Maharshi was said to remember those who carried him in his heart as a gift.
They say he remembered those. On the other hand, when the question was put to him directly, he said, how can one, a jnani who has no mind, remember anyone? The grace is true, but the interpretation is necessarily along lines of individuality. While grace of the self is of the nature of non-individuality, no ego, no jiva. So who is to remember whom? However, if you find your unborn nature, which is the real self, that is grace itself. It is a revelation in self-knowledge. It does not come from anything external to the self. And the self, being infinite, has no externality. However, it does not come by any power of the so-called ego. So it is said to be revealed by grace. As Sri Bhagavan has already stated, grace is of the nature of the self. What is that self? That's just what you have to find out. Good, Steve.
Seems to be, there's a discourse that sharing that following the snake's tail, following the eye in, following the snake's tail brings you to the head through all your desires, everything, brings you to the head, dissolving the eye, the head. All there's left is Brahman. So to follow it in, grab the eye, follow it to its origin, boom, there goes the monster. Just like a child, with all the things that we invent, all the fears, everything, just grabbing it. This is such a vital knowledge in all our lives that we can destroy all the monsters, all the lies aren't even true. Not even the lie stands to the truth. It's not something to base any reality on, that it's a lie about the truth. So with Friday night talking about the same thing, about in a small way of going deeper as far as looking at the wants. And basically I was been working on this for a very long time, basically because the truth of knowledge and what you're saying is that any spiritual progress in my life now is absolutely from dissolving the I, dissolving the individual. I can see that as clear as anything, that any spiritual headway at all was all from doing this. That's the only way. Grabbing the tail, going further in, getting to that, just get to that head and then boom, and that's really what it is. So, when I'm coming down to dissolving desires, because basically getting deeper into that knowledge that dissolving the I, going into the I head on is what to do, dissolving the I. So at that point of getting where I believe, to where the I, seeing where the I is where you start to dissolve your desires even deeper into where it gets simpler, not to dissolve the desires itself, but to dissolve the desirer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm glad. Okay, so what I'm doing is immediately at this point, instead of I don't want to have any desires, I don't want this, or I don't want that, or I don't want, I'm getting closer to just dissolving, I don't want. Okay, that's what I said. I don't want. But still, that's the circle. I don't want the I. I don't want separation from God. I don't want separation at all. I still is there. And so the question was Friday night was, what do you want? What do you want? And then I said, I want peace, or I want happiness, and I'm still in the I. It's still, even though that's clearer, I believe, it's simpler into understanding that peace is all that matters. And okay, so basically, without going through a circle of more I want or I don't want, I want, and Sarah almost did it again. It's want to inquire what the I is. It's not that I don't want to inquire the I. I just want, at that point of the desire of I want, look at who the I that wants. How do you do that? And how do you answer the question? How do you answer the question, I want to understand the I. So I'm not the head. I'm not the head there. Because this is the circle. I've seen this for 10 years. It's down to what do I want? And I'm answering it. I want peace. I want happiness. I want freedom. I want to know who I am. But that's more I. Can you take me in?
All right. But the desire, when you say you want to know yourself, while there still is the semblance of one I who wants to know another, or when you say I want happiness, I want freedom, I want peace, which is a true ascertainment of what your motivation actually is behind a multitude of desires. Now you're looking inwards, so you say, I want this peace, this happiness, this freedom, which boils down to, I want myself. As you rather eloquently put it, I want to be done with want.
Yeah.
I don't want.
Yeah.
That is to say, you desire to be in an eyeless state. For the egoless or eyeless state is the desireless state, the state of yourself, which is all the freedom, the peace, and the happiness that was ever desired. So this desire, at the core of all desires, may be said to be the call of your own nature to abide in its natural state. Therefore, you need not struggle to eliminate that desire. Just take the intensity of that desire, which is for yourself, and use that to fuel your inquiry, like fuel to burn. Use that as the fuel for your inquiry as to who am I. As we were reading the passage on Friday night with the Maharshi's teachings, he said to pursue desire was absurd. To repress desire was also absurd. But to find out for whom is the desire, and find out the source of the desire, this was far wiser.
So instead of asking, I want to be free from the desire, for whom is the desire?
Yes.
Not go into an I want.
Well, you already know that. You already know you want to be free of desire, so how are you going to accomplish it?
Not going back to the circle.
Only by inquiring as to who you are, to eliminate the false notion of a desire.
For whom am I isn't the same as I want.
No, it actually destroys all wants.
Okay, that's clear.
And fulfills them all, but not in the form in which they originally appeared.
Because how can I want the self? The self already is.
There are two of you.
Everything that isn't of the self is the I, and the self already is. So how can I want the self?
an inquiry into the supposed individual who could stand apart from the self and thus question, doubt, or want, etc., an inquiry into him dissolves his false existence, like bringing in the bright lamp or light to look at the snake to find out it was only a rope. You didn't grab the tail or the head. There was no snake there.
Right. It was just a rope.
Likewise, the inquiry reveals the knowledge of yourself. There was no ego entity there. There was no one who was lacking who then needed to desire. The perfection had never been divided or marred. That perfection, that perfect fullness, is your own nature. It's pure being, which is indivisible. It's neither an individual, nor a mind which can conceive desires, nor does it have a body in which you would act out upon such desires, nor does it act at any point, nor does it get the results of action. Bodiless, free of the mind, egoless, unformed, unborn, uncreated, and imperishable. That is the real being. Self-knowledge reveals it. It shines in its own light. Inquiry is the practical means to have that light shine upon itself for you to experience it.
So it just continuously asks the question all the time, so that it's always back to, but what do I want?
Or who are you?
And that separation.
If you would only inquire uninterruptedly,
I don't want.
That would suffice.
So why is the choice continuously always put over? Because I'm not dealing with the wanter, right?
Well,
okay. So it's just, I know this is a 10-year cycle. Because it's come down to, I can vividly see it for at least 10 years, and I know it's been longer.
All right.
Okay, so it's in simple down. I've been basically, at this point of being able to really want anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But I want to go to the
So
core.
you have a veritable encyclopedia of experience of wants. Only know the nature of the one who has such wants, who has experienced such wants. The wants all come and go.
Yeah, they do.
Something at the core of the wanting keeps urging you on, and it won't be satisfied except with the realization of yourself.
Okay.
So I said it's the call of your own nature.
Oh.
Not the forms of those desires, but what's at the core, what's
clear.
pushing them, what's motivating them. It won't be satisfied unless you know yourself, unless you constantly and deeply inquire as to who you are. How else will you know yourself?
That's key. Yeah.
Therefore, keep up the inquiry.
Okay. That's key.
I can clearly see that the thoughts are occur in the background of the consciousness. So I see the two different things: consciousness that doesn't change, and then the thoughts that are always changing. Now there is a thing that's my attention. I have a choice of focusing my attention on my thoughts or on the background. That's not changing. It might be brief, but I can have that choice all the time.
Yes.
Is focusing on my attention on the background, is that enough meditation?
If you focus your attention on the background and know that the consciousness exists, then you want to pursue your inquiry even more deeply. The consciousness is changeless. The attention is shifting.
Yes.
So the shifting attention should not be equated with the consciousness itself. Likewise, the attention disappears in deep dreamless sleep. But the consciousness does not. It remains. You need then to inquire, what is your identity? Are you one that goes back, and are you an attention holder who goes between consciousness and thought? Or is your identity the pure consciousness? If you inquire and ascertain your identity to be the pure consciousness, you'll find that to be changeless, as you said, which means thoughts have not actually really arisen. They appear only to the experiencer or particularized mind, the one who is supposedly aware of them. If his identity, though, as was just said, is ascertained by a deep inquiry, the thinker himself does not exist, nor do his thoughts. One changeless consciousness exists, and that is what you are.
the attention itself, what exactly it is? Because sometimes when I focus on the background, the attention itself seems to have disappeared.
Mm-hmm. So the attention itself is a function. It's a function of the mind. Okay, we could say it's a function of the mind, or we could say the buddhi, the intellect. It's that part of the mind that is able to turn inward. But when it turns inward, it loses its form.
When I practice focusing on the attention, my attention on the calm background, sometimes the attention itself seems to disappear.
Yes, everything disappears into the background. The identity, the sense of I, should be absorbed in that background so that it doesn't come out again.
Is that the right thing to do?
That is the only thing to do.
Just wanted to be sure.
So when you are meditating, and you can discern, there's thoughts, there's the consciousness. If you feel as if you are some kind of being who can go back and forth, riding the attention one way or the other, find out who that individual being is. And he will be absorbed in the background infinite consciousness. The idea of a second knower, be it the attention function of the mind, or the individual thinker, or the one who holds the attention, the idea of a second knower, other than consciousness, should evaporate. There's one all-shining, all-knowing consciousness, the unknown knower of all that is known. Identify with that. And you can identify with that not by so much thinking, I am that, because those are more thoughts from which you turn your attention away, but by deeply inquiring at the level that you feel you are, you exist, and realizing what you are is only the consciousness. It's deep knowledge. Clear? Go ahead, Eric.
I was meditating on this waking state of mind, and how everything is contained in the mind. So this waking state of mind is just in the mind. And I guess there was a few weeks ago you had a conversation with Tim about this. So I've been listening to that section. And really was kind of just an interesting meditation. So anyway, so how do you, seems like that eliminates pretty much everything now. I mean, I can't say I've had that experience, but it kind of gets me more focused.
What experience do you have?
Okay, I should take that back.
Can you do that?
Somehow, when it comes to satsang, my experience is very different from anything.
How do you know when you're in satsang? It can't be when you see the satsang hall and the various bodies, because I've noticed sometimes you have your eyes closed. So that cannot be the cause of the experience.
When my meditation goes deeper, I guess.
When does your meditation go deeper?
When I let go of notions about who I am.
Can notions about who you are ever be who you really are? Are you a notion?
you don't catch myself thinking of the notion many times. I mean, it's really ridiculous. When I start looking at the mind, it's all these thoughts zooming by, and somehow I piece them together and say, this is me. A bunch of notions.
If one notion is not you, why would many not yous constitute you?
Yeah.
As for your mind, eliminate the notions and what remains of it. Without such concepts, what's the nature of your mind?
But definitely it's different. It's not, no, it's more space.
How space-like?
I don't know where the end is. And it's probably just my conceptual thought that was limited.
Is there really an end? Or wouldn't that conceptual thought also just be a false appearance in the mind?
Well, it seems like that there's a meditation where you're checking something out, and then there's a notion that arises.
What's the nature of meditation?
The nature of meditation must be myself.
The same is true about the space of mind, beyond the states and their content. That which has no boundary, that which has no form, which is space-like. Is there something else?
In terms of
Your experience.
it seems like there's something there.
What?
I don't know, when you asked that, it seemed like there was, I don't know, just something tangible. It's kind of hard to grasp with the mind, though. I don't know.
The idea that there's something other than the consciousness, does that occur outside of the consciousness?
So, but is there a certain, any sort of, I don't know, fullness or something? Or I don't know how to, in other words, is there something more, or is it just emptiness?
Emptiness and fullness are just imaginings within the mind. as is all duality, just a false notion in the mind. The real nature of consciousness is utterly non-dual. Sometimes described as void because it has no definition, nothing objective in it. Sometimes described as the perfect fullness because it is lacking in nothing whatsoever. It is existence itself. Direct realization or direct experience is something that is ineffable, that you cannot capture within those ideas. If there is something else besides that consciousness that's utterly non-dual, which is all perfection in itself, then determine what that something else is and who perceives it. You will find the perceived exists only in and for the perceiver. Examining the nature of the perceiver, the individuality will vanish because it's not real. What remains is no mere nothingness, but perfect existence. The notions of something other do not occur outside the consciousness. So even ignorance is not apart from the self. Though it is not right to say ignorance really exists within the self.
Can you explain it?
The ignorance, which consists of the various misidentifications, attachments, the various notions, that ignorance has no existence apart from the self. Does not stand apart from the consciousness. There's nowhere outside that boundless consciousness where anything could appear. So even the delusion or ignorance is within the self. But the self is pure consciousness. What ignorance could it have?
Yeah, I've been reading something very similar to that in Reflections. You've done a translation from one of the Maharshi's texts. And there's one that I've been reading over and over again, kind of thinking that there's a veil, but then when you inquire into the nature of that veil, you find that it doesn't exist. And it's great to, I love just reflecting on that, because if I think there's a veil, and then I'm on the other side of it, it makes the job much more difficult. So I guess that's why the inquiry, it also explains that, why the inquiry works. It's because it dissolves that one completely.
The only veil, so to speak, was the belief in the apparent existence of the individual, the bound one. It seems as if there's an individual, the veil, and the self. But the veil consists in the belief in the individual, as if he exists apart from the self. Inquiry reveals there is not a plurality of existences. Just one self, your actual identity. There's no veil, there's no one hidden by the veil.
The meditation seems like a progression in a certain sense.
Where are we going?
Okay.
Yes, we progress from darkness to light, from death to immortality, and from the unreal to the real. However, the journey from the unreal to the real, how long a journey is it? Or how short? How could we measure it?
Okay, I'll give you
Are we going anywhere?
for instance, my favorite meditation on work. And I've been trying to actually meditate on this, try to, just take down the ideas, but somehow they keep coming back. And
in other words, you keep thinking them.
yeah,
And they don't come back. It's not like they go somewhere and they come back.
I keep thinking them.
You keep thinking, okay.
And I keep meditating on the ideas that possibly make them up. Try to meditate on that. But that's what I sort of am wondering about. So I try to look at, the sense of, for instance, these guys are paying me as a consultant to help them fix, a bunch of problems. So there's always a sense of sort of me having my work, so to speak. And so that's what you sort of, because it's really kind of ridiculous, most of this stuff. But there's an idea that, somebody gets to pay you because you're going to contribute some sort of value to that thing. And so I think I have to have my mind or attention on that, and that limits.
Your mental attention probably does have to be on the work, but what has that got to do with yourself?
Well, I think my value comes from that. Or my...
Do you really? Do you think if they didn't have that work or didn't need that work, if that work wasn't required of you, you would suddenly lose your value?
Oh my God. Hold on very well here. Everybody might be saying yes.
Following that theory, if you complete the work so the work is no longer needed, you suddenly become valueless, so you better not complete it.
That's what happens. Oh my God. It's funny. But I guess it comes down to also too that attention, like I guess what you were talking about before, that putting my attention on something, I guess I identify with that and not with the self. Can
you be the mental attention? Doesn't it move about? Someone knows the attention, knows it's moving about, knows it when it's in an acute or dull state. What is it that so knows? The dream character you play in last night's dream, he had his attention on different things as well. Are you prepared to say that's real and that's what you are?
No.
Similar is it now in the waking state?
Okay, so during that whole process, where we're basically studying in as much detail as possible what could be wrong with, this problem. Or, they developed this chip and what's wrong, what's fundamentally wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying, though, that if I'm not identified with this attention, that I could be meditating at the same time.
You said meditation was the nature of the self. How could there be any interference? How could there be any interference by having the attention and the mind's attention on the task at hand if the nature of the meditation is of the self, or absorption in the self, is more a state of knowledge of identity?
Because my identity is shifted.
You know that you exist. Do you need mental attention to know that?
No. Although I think to really know it, I have to have my attention on it.
Examine closely. Which is subservient to which? Does consciousness borrow its light from the mental attention? Or does the mind get its light from the consciousness? Which is the light and which is the reflecting medium?
But aren't they somewhat similar though? Because it seems like the main thing is probably that awareness or consciousness.
Sure, they are similar. In the same way the moon's light is just reflected sunlight. It's still only one light. Thoughts have no knowing power of their own. Likewise, what this activity called mental attention.
So is the mental, what makes it different though, the reflected part? Is that the misidentification?
Well, the reflection depends on the original. The original does not depend on the reflection. I mean, that'd be like looking at your face in a mirror and thinking if the mirror is pulled away, you'll cease to exist. It's absurd.
So what else is this consciousness? Okay, so when I'm focused on something, what is it seems like those thoughts are what occupy, I guess, my mind at that moment.
At that moment. In a later moment, other thoughts occupy the mind.
Yeah.
You still exist. That existence is the perpetual consciousness, the background knower of all that, before, during, and after all those thoughts. Can you be a thought? If it were so, how would you know it?
Yeah, that's very good.
The entire experience of what you're calling at work, which is just the particular thoughts configured into that experience, all of that occurs in the mind. You're not in the mind. Do you comprehend how you should keep inquiring in such a manner that you examine the suppositions upon which the illusion is built?
Okay, please explain then what you mean by that. So you're saying
When you say meditation, when you think about the mind, when you think about work, whatever the doubt or perplexity seems to be, look at what composes it. That is to say, look at who has it. Look at the basic suppositions. What are you calling the mind? What are you calling meditation? It'll bring you back to what are you calling yourself? Where are you? Who are you? Once we do not examine who we are, we take it for granted that the assumed individual is actually existent. And once we take it for granted that what we think is actually fact rather than just we thought it. And once you assume some position, such as a body in a world, from there, given that stack of misidentification, all kinds of ideas, theories, obstructions, progress, lack of the same, all that can spin out.
yeah.
And you can dream it up any which way. There's great multiplicity in that. Always look at what you're supposing to be yourself, the starting point, what you're supposing to be real. Proceed by the certainty of direct experience. Nothing could be more direct than your own existence. Start always with that. Where you start is precisely where you end up.
Reflect on I and my and I-less and minus. Minus. It looks like once you get this I going, then you've got this world of objects. And then this I goes around picking some out and saying they're mine, my body, my house, my car, my whatever.
Mm-hmm. Or even just my experience of all the stuff that's not mine yet.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Or even my experience of all the stuff that's not mine yet.
Right, right. It's all mine. It's in a state of either mine or not mine. A lot of mischief, a lot of problems in that. Then you've got all this my to manage and protect and preserve, and all that. It looks like it's fairly useful, and then it's like red flags. Like when I start thinking in terms of my, then it's like I'm well downstream of I. And it's like my day, my daily life. So I got to think about it, and so like when we have a discussion here, I was going, is there really an I over here talking to a you over there? Or if I were to inquire deeply enough, would that occur at all? That experience of I and my, you and me? And it does seem to be going on. I mean, there appears to be individuals talking about something.
As long as you regard the body as the individual. As long as the senses are assumed to be that which determines what's real. Are you the body? Can you be in a body? Is that your location? If that identity, that location is just assumed in the mind, so is the rest of it.
I was trying to look from the other side, which done from the mind is usually not very successful. I mean, trying to look into the mind to try to figure out reality. But I was thinking, okay, if I'm clear about the experience of what happens when I consider myself to be an individual, then I'm in a room of objects, and that includes people and walls. But inquired into deeply enough, what would be left of all that I-ness and minus?
Nothing whatsoever. The only thing that remains is the one thing that has been present the entire time. That's the solitary reality of pure being, consciousness, bliss. There's no such thing as I and you, or the relation between them. If there is I, there'll be this. I and this necessitates a relation between them. If the I is defined as a mind, then this will be a mind, and you will conceive of an appearance within the mind, or you regard those appearances as having some solidity on their own right, so you'll imagine a multiplicity of minds. If the position of the body is assumed, then there'll be a body here and a body there. You mark out the here and there in relation to the body. Without bodies, where's the space? Without the minds, where's the time? Without bodies and minds, what is occurring? As for what occurs spiritually, it is like being asleep in your dream and hearing somebody tell you to wake up. However it is interpreted within the dream, it's not the same as what's actually occurring. But it does get you to wake up. Only in this case, when you wake up, you find you're in a solitary place. You yourself woke yourself up. And the whole conception of one who teaches, one who is taught, the relation between them is not true. That they're not true is the substance of the teaching. So all the teachings are based upon the existence of the individual, the elimination of which is their purpose. Sounds familiar?
You heard that 30 minutes ago.
The elimination of the false sense of plurality and the revelation of the undifferentiated nature of being is simultaneously highest knowledge, greatest spiritual love, all peace in itself, and freedom from the illusory bondage.
Shubham yadya shubham viddhi ashubhat shubhamishyate bhayam yadya bhayam viddhi abhayat bhayamapatet.
If you regard a thing auspicious as inauspicious, then auspiciousness is desired as separate from inauspiciousness. If you regard fear as non-fear, then fear will arise out of non-fear.
Bandhatvamapi chen moksho bandhabhave kwa mokshata maranam yadi chet janma janma bhave mritannacha.
If bondage should become emancipation, then in the absence of bondage, will be no emancipation. If birth should imply death, then in the absence of birth there is no death.
Tvamidhyabhibhave chaham tvam no chedahame na idam yadittadevasti tad abhavat idam na cha.
If thou should imply I, then in the absence of thou there is no I. If this should be that, this does not exist in the absence of that.
Astiti chennasti tada nasti chedasti kinchana karyam chet karanam kinchit karyabhavena karanam.
If being should imply non-being, then non-being will imply being. If an effect implies a cause, then in the absence of effect, there is no cause.
Dvaitam yadittada dvaitam dvaita dvayam na cha drishyam yaditragapyasti drishyabhave drage na cha.
If duality implies non-duality, then in the absence of duality, there is no non-duality. If there should be the seen, then there is the eye or sight. In the absence of the seen, there is no I.
Antaryadi bahis satyam antabhave brahirna cha purnattvamasti chet kinchit apurnatvam prasajyate tasmadetat kvachinnasti tvam chaham va ime idam nasti drishtantikam satye nasti drishtantikam hyaje param brahmahamasmiti smaranasya mano nahi brahma matram jagadidam brahma matram tvamapyaham.
In the absence of the interior, there is no exterior. If there should be fullness, then non-fullness is possible. Therefore, all this exists nowhere. Neither you nor I, nor this nor these exist. There exists no object of comparison in the true one. There is no simile in the unborn. There is in it no mind to think. I am the supreme Brahman. This world is Brahman only. Thou and I are Brahman only.
Chinmatram kevalam chaham nastyanatmedi nishchinu idam prapancham nastyeva notpannam nostitam kvachid.
I am Chinmatra simply, and there is no not Atman. Rest assured of it. This universe is not really at all. This universe is not really at all. It was nowhere produced and stays nowhere.
Chittam prapanchamityahuhu nasti nasteva sarvada na prapancham na chittadi na hankaro na jivakaha.
Some say that Chitta is the universe. Not at all. It exists not. Neither the universe, nor Chitta, nor Ahankara, nor Jiva exists really.
Maya karyadigam nasti maya nasti bhayam nahi karta nasti kriya nasti shravanam mananam nahi
Samadhi
yam nasti matramanadi nasti hi ajnanam chabi nastyeva yavivekam kadachana.
Neither the creation of Maya nor Maya itself really exists. Fear does not really exist. Actor, action, listening, reflecting, the two samadhis, the measure, Ajnana and Aviveka, none of these exists truly anywhere.
Anubandhacha dushkamna sambandhatrayameva na ganga na gaya setuhu na bhutam nanyadastihi na bhumin na jalam na agnihi na vayun na jakham kvachit na deva na cha dikpala na veda na guru kvachit न दूरं नास्तिकं नालं न मध्यं न क्वचित् स्थितं नाद्वैतं द्वैतसत्यं वा ह्यसत्यं वा इदं न च बन्धमोक्षादिकं नास्ति सद्वा सद्वा सुखादि वा जातिर्नास्ति गतिर्नास्ति वर्णो नास्ति न लौकिकम्.
Therefore, the four moving considerations and the three kinds of relationship exist not. There is no Ganga, no Gaya, no Setu, bridge, no elements or anything else, no earth, water, fire, Vayu, and Akasha anywhere, no devas, no guardians of the four quarters, no Vedas, no guru, no distance, no proximity, no time, no middle, no non-duality, no truth, no untruth, no bondage, no emancipation, no sat, no asat, no happiness, etc., no class, no motion, no caste, and no worldly business.
Sarvam brahmedi nastyeva brahma ityapi nastihi chidityevedi nastyeva chidaham bhashanam nahi.
All is Brahman only and nothing else. All is Brahman only and nothing else. There exists then nothing, as that consciousness alone is. There is then no saying such as Chit is I.
Aham brahmasmi nastyeva nitya shuddhosmi na kvachit vaja yaduchyate kinchit manasa manute kvachit buddhya nishchinude nasti chittena jnayate nahi yogi yogadikam nasti sada sarvam sada nacha.
The statement, I am Brahman, does not exist then, nor does exist then the statement, I am the eternally pure. Whatever is uttered by the mouth, whatever is thought by manas, whatever is determined by buddhi, whatever is cognized by chitta, all these do not exist. There is no yogin or yoga then. All are and are not.
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.